Hey everybody, it's Josh. Wanted to do another video on kind of life advice for young men and young women and really everybody, but focusing on young men because I really think they have the hardest struggle right now. To be a boy growing up in today's culture, oh man, so many more challenges than really the past 3 generations maybe combined, at least, because we never had to deal with the internet and smartphones and being more connected than ever, yet less connected than ever. But I think the biggest bit of advice I have is that at some point your world is going to feel like it's crumbling. It might already, hopefully not. You're going to be lost and alone and looking for purpose. And the only really way to find that purpose is to have a relationship with God. Now, if you're like I was, I always believed in God. I was a Christian growing up, and when I got older, I never went to church. I didn't have any use for it. Never connected with God at church, so I decided that God wasn't the type of God who took an active interest in our lives. So I just kind of figured I'd do my best. And then my world started crumbling around me. It took me so long, and I had to be stripped of my purpose and my meaning till I started realizing that I need to seek God. I'm not saying you have to go to any religion. I'm not saying you have to do anything. I'm saying go somewhere private if you can. Just you, no one else, because this isn't for anyone else. Don't even have your pets with you. And talk to God and listen for his signs. And I've got a bunch of videos about this. If you're interested in them, let me know and I'll try to link to some of them. But basically, you're looking for signs from him through a thing called synchronicity in life. That's the way I do it. It's going to be different for every single person, so just remember that. But I see signs through art. I see signs through nature mainly. Animals are the way I really get my messages from him. But that is kind of the main advice right there. If you start early, it's going to be a lot easier for you. Don't wait until your life falls apart before you start seeking God. And I understand that that's when you have that suffering is when you want that meaning and you want that purpose. But if you start early, things will be so much better. I'm telling you. Find that meaning in your life. And do everything. Your purpose that you're creating for yourself is not the same as the purpose God has for you. Purpose you create for yourself should be to do the best that you can in life. Take every situation and make it the best. Number one thing you can do is focus on mind, body, and spirit. So, for me, I was very active when I was young, but then I went through a lot of phases where I was very inactive. And I partied all the time. I thought that was what life was about, just having a good time and making everybody else happy if I could, through laughter and comedy and just being kind to people. But I learned so much when I Twice in my life I lost over 100 pounds. Once I was about 130. I played football, I was a weightlifter, I just worked out like a maniac. The reason I started working out like a maniac the second time, I was 20 years old. I got out of my failed year in college, and I was a fat slob, really. I was just felt horrible. There was no prospects for girls, no nothing, no prospects for anything. I was purposeless, alone, wandering aimlessly. So I took it upon myself to say, I'm not going to live like this anymore. I started researching as much as I could how to lose weight. I'd already done it once, so I knew what to do mainly. And then I just started working out and running and dieting and doing everything I could to lose the weight. And I lost it pretty quick. I was in very good shape. Never had problems building muscle. It was always dropping this fat that I have on me right now. My winter weight that I keep on all year. But as you get older, it's harder. So if you can build a lifestyle to where you're eating right, eating as best as you can, it's hard. It's very hard in today's society because everything is ultra processed. If you can eat right, if you can exercise and do something that you're going to enjoy. I mean, not a lot of people enjoy running until you're numb. And that's what I was doing. I was at one point, to get in the best shape I possibly could do, I was waking up in the morning, going to a lumber yard, throwing lumber from one pile to another. Sometimes it was called exotic lumber. It was sometimes 200-300 pound boards from one pile to another, monotonous work. Then I would get off of work. I would go to the gym for an hour or two, lift weights. Then I would go deliver pizzas. Then I would run before I went to bed. About 5-6 miles a day. That's what I was doing to try to keep off weight and stay in shape. And that's not sustainable. Find something that's sustainable for you. Find something you enjoy doing, a sport, whatever is not going to make you feel like garbage. Like I don't want to do this again. You look at people like there's a Jocko Willink, I think is his name. He's an ex-Navy SEAL, and he got out of shape, and now he is like probably in the best shape of anyone in the world, maybe. But he works out like a maniac. But he says every day he gets up and he stares at his feet because his feet are so beat up. They're just nasty, like just blisters that have popped and have probably got half infected, and calluses and bruises. I think my feet are bad, but this guy's feet are awful. But he says, he stares there and he says, I don't want to do this. But there's a part of him that says, get your ass up and do it. And that part always wins. He never lets the weak side win. That's what you have to do to stay in shape. But you have to build a lifestyle around it. You have to push yourself sometimes, and don't push yourself all the time, and know when to rest, and know how to rest, and know how to exercise smart and recover smart and eat the right things, and then have your cheat days and all that stuff. I'm not the one to be giving advice on how to get in shape at this point in my life. It's true, I've got muscle and I'm disabled, so it's a different game for me. I go walking and I go to the pool using foam weights, but that works for me. And I know I eat too much and I need to stop that, but that's a completely different story. Now, mentally, mental is going to kind of have everything wrapped in it here, because you need a purpose in life. If you don't have purpose, you're going to suffer mentally. Obviously, I'm talking about people who don't have diagnosed mental illnesses or even undiagnosed ones. You have to keep a purpose. If you're just going home, sitting on the couch and playing video games all day, you're not going to be getting very far in life. And that's okay. Everything in moderation. If something is taking up so much of your time in life and it's having a negative effect on you, you have to do a self-assessment. Is what I'm doing as a pastime affecting me negatively? If so, then you either have to stop it or cut it back, at least to a point where it's manageable. Now we're going to get into financially. Financial is how almost every single couple gets divorced. It's almost always over finances. And that's one of the big things that had me and my wife arguing, and still do sometimes. She still gets worried about it. I'm not so much worried about it anymore, because I kind of transcended all that when I found God. I trust in God's plan now. I don't worry about, are we not going to be able to pay these bills? Are we not going to be able to do this? But you do have to actually be responsible with your money. You have to have a purpose with your money. Now, for this, I recommend either Dave Ramsey or Clark Howard. Check either one of them out and start following their plans. Dave Ramsey's pretty hardcore, I'm letting you know. I've done his plan before, and we wiped out like, I think it was $14,000 of debt in a couple months when I was still working. So it really does work, and it really is, when you get to that point where you're not relying on credit cards and you're not charging everything up and you're having a purpose for every dollar that you spend. Just like in your life, you have to have purpose for your money too. Don't let your money go to waste. If you're spending money on fast food or going out to eat all the time, try to cook stuff at home. You can make cheaper, healthier meals usually for a lot less money. But again, I am not the type to be giving advice on that, but I've been at least semi-well off, and then I've been completely broke. And I know how awful it is to be completely broke. And I understand how much more expensive everything is now too. Trying to find a home, trying to find just things like groceries are, double, triple the price they were just a couple years ago. But if you work these plans, you can succeed financially, in any aspect of life. You have to have a plan. Now, the one thing that I've learned from my spiritual rebirth when I found God is that you can't sit around just stressing about this. You can't sit around thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do? How am I going to pay all this? I'm so stressed. And it'll just make you sick. So instead of doing that, and instead of sitting there worrying about it, if you have to be awake thinking about it, then make a plan. Stay calm about it. The world's not going to end. The worst thing that's going to happen, I guess, is you lose your house. You have to find somewhere else to live. That's not great, but it's not the end of the world. You have to understand this. God will put you where you need to be, and you'll learn those lessons or you won't. And if you don't learn them, you're going to learn them a different way. You're going to get taught a different way until you do learn them. because they're all important lessons on what you as a person need to do with your life. I mentioned Dave Ramsey for the financial. He was a multi-millionaire very young, I think at like 18, 19 years old, and then he just blew it all. And that's when he realized his purpose with God, and he made his system that worked tremendously for millions of people. You can find work in so many different new things. You have to innovate. What are your talents? What are your skills? You have to do these self-assessments multiple times, maybe even once every 6 months, once a year. At least stop and take stock of what you've accomplished and what you still want to accomplish. But as I said in the last video, figure out the type of person that you want to be. It's going to be different from time to time. Yeah, excuse me, my other dog came out. Here are my pups. Let's see if we can get him. Crosby. He's an old hound dog. And let's see if we can get Kiesel over there. Kiesel's the old Lab Akita mix. Crosby's a hound pit bull mix. They're old men. We sit there and we complain about our aches and pains at night. But they're great boys. They probably don't have a whole lot of years left in them, but I am thankful for every single second that I had with them. And I still will have with them. They're not gone yet. Even though some days I'm like, woof, can't believe you survived that day. Some days I'm like, I can't believe I survived that day. My lab is, I was going to show you, but he's stopped now. He digs these holes so he can go lay in them. Pets are also another thing that bring you joy in life. If you can have pets, get them. Now, the joy in people between people who live in a city, in the country, by the ocean, it varies vastly. The place you live and the people you surround yourself with has a huge effect on you. Now, a lot of times you can't pick that. You grew up in a place, you're stuck there until you can at least move, and maybe you have a job or you can't move. If you're stuck in a city, you need to find ways to get out of the city on the weekends, go to the parks, do whatever you can to get out in nature. It's always about connecting with God. And nature is God's purest artwork. So we've got do everything on purpose and have a purpose in life. And I really think my old hound dog here. Let's see. Say hello again, buddy. Say hello again. I know. The main thing is try to have your true north in life. And that should be God. But before you have a relationship with God, you need to basically, as I've said in different videos, fake it until you make it. So just know that God is there. Even if you can't feel him or see his messages, just talk to him like he's your best friend. He's there. He's there listening to you. He's your counselor. He's everything rolled into one. He's the most important relationship you can have in life. He will help you love yourself, finally. And please don't be discouraged by the different ways that this life stretches you to. And what I mean by that is society is telling you You need to go so many different directions. And society is almost always wrong. Do not trust society. Do not compare your life to anyone else's. Your life is not anyone else's. I am probably one of the happiest people I know now. I used to be one of the most miserable people I knew for a long time, for a few years. I'd always been a happy person in life until my world came crashing down with my disability and my back surgeries. But now I'm the most happy person I know again. And that doesn't mean that I'm always walking around like, oh, hey, I'm so happy. It means I have this inner peace within me that drives me and protects me. It's like an armor. So every bump in the road, before it felt like a canyon sometimes that we couldn't get out of, and now it's just a small little tiny bump. Barely even feel it most of the time. That's where you have to get with your problems. You have to understand that pain is going to happen. Pain is inevitable. Embrace the pain sometimes. Embrace the pain, embrace the struggle, but do not embrace the suffering. The difference is pain is how your body reacts to events, negative events in your life. And suffering is how your mind reacts to it. So how you judge a situation, what your beliefs are. You know, if you feel like, let's say you stub your toe and your mind tells you this is going to hurt forever. It is going to hurt a lot worse and a lot longer than what it has to. If you are assured by God, which God is the best way to get over your suffering. If you have a close relationship with God, you understand that pain is just temporary. And I had a great comment about this in another video on my pain and suffering video, pain versus suffering. I haven't responded to it yet, but it was a great comment. And I was talking about how pain is something that you're going to have. You're going to always have it. Pain is absolutely necessary. Suffering is not. Suffering is not necessary at all. Do not bring yourself down. Live every moment with a purpose, but live in the present. So don't be sitting there laying awake at night thinking about finances, thinking about how you don't have a girlfriend, thinking about anything. Just say, well, I'm going to try a little bit better, try a little harder tomorrow, try something different, and embrace whatever beauty comes in your life. Because you're going to have a lot of darkness in your life, and you need that beauty to get you through it. That's what God gives you. That's your gift. I'm probably going to do one more of these videos, at least, on relationships. But I wanted to touch a little bit on it real quick now, because I understand how hard it is now, too, for dating and stuff like that. Especially for both men and women. So women say that all the good men are taken, and men say that women expect too much of them. They expect them to have a 6-figure income and all these, look handsome and everything that they absolutely want. If one thing is missing, then that's it. If you're genuine and you're yourself, let's say you're a funny person, embrace that humor, and that will be enough to draw in the people that you really want. And you're going to get a lot of people you don't want, but you're going to, self-confidence will attract all kinds of people. You can be ugly as can be and be self-confident, and you're still going to attract all kinds of people. Because people want to be around somebody who's self-confident. They feel safer. They feel more alive themselves. They feel more connected with themselves. They're like, maybe they'll help me find my genuine self. So being genuine is the absolute key for me for dating now. And I'm so glad that I don't have to date anymore. And if for some reason I lost my wife for anything, I probably would just be happy alone. There's nothing wrong with being alone, but we do need human connection too. We need love, we need care, we need compassion. You can find those things outside of a relationship, but most people have this strong desire, because you have a desire to get together and have kids. It's been an instinct since the beginning of time, beginning of man. Because our purpose is to multiply and to serve God. That's our general purpose. But be genuine. Love yourself. Until you love yourself, don't expect anyone to ever love you. Ever. They might, and that's by grace of God. They might love you even before you love yourself. But when you do love yourself, so many things change. Okay, that's it for today. God bless you. I'm going to do some more videos on this. I'm relying on your all's comments. If you send them, you need anything talked about, I will be glad to talk about them. Or I'll just reply straight to you. You just let me know. See you tomorrow.